Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series America Challenger. We have one more best of 5 tonight. It's going to be a PvP. Once upon a time, it would have been a TVP.
Yep, StarDust versus Neeb. It's pretty exciting. Again, Neeb qualifying for WCS with 2 different races. Now he's here as a Protoss. Again, he started off rough, as trying to get used to the Protoss, and now I think he's coming into his own.
He was out of action for a good while, and I'd heard, like, down the rumor mill that it was like, oh, Neeb, like, disappeared. He's not playing anymore or something, and he was very young, I think. Came to play WCS America, Season 1, Run of 16, and it must have been, 16 last year when he first came into play, and now he's Protoss. He's given up the Terran dream. He's left us behind, and it's disappointing.
I try to not sound like I'm coming off bias against Protoss, but I mean, he did go to the dark side.
To be fair, if I could race switch and be in WCS Challenger, making thousands of dollars playing StarCraft, I'd probably switch to if you're going to win more.
And it doesn't even come down to the race being easier. It's just one of those ones that you feel empowered, right? There's all those options to play. And
sometimes you just got to change it up. You feel like you've hit a plateau, you make a big change, and this could be it for him. He's made it pretty far with Terran before. Can he do it with Protoss? He's up against StarDust, who was knocked out by a Terran. StarDust, who has been, we talked about this earlier, StarDust's track record against foreign Terrans is actually quite poor this year, but I don't think his PvP is that bad. It kind of has me concerned. For those of you who are just joining us, these are all of the matches that we've had so far today, as well as the matches that we'll be bringing you tomorrow. We saw Masa and Jaedong, 2 players from Premier last season, going back into Premier League. The challengers, Bales and Semper, have been defeated. And now we're on StarDust versus Neeb. Tomorrow we'll be doing Kane versus Huck, Pult versus Jon Snow, Violet versus QXE, and Xenocider versus Hitman. Like we said earlier, disregard the times. We're just going through the matches. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it slow, and we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too good for Neeb. I'm rooting for him. He's the North American against StarDust, but his Jaedong recently 2-1 Puck in the IM qualifier, and I'm hoping, Nathanius.
StarDust, I would say PvP wise, much stronger. I like StarDust PvP, PvZ a lot more than StarDust's PvT.
It's his highest matchup. It's his best matchup. I'm
still hoping that we get into this game and that Neeb just decides to play Terran. I'm not even joking. I really think that StarDust's performance versus, he was knocked out of WCS, the top 8 by Bunny last season, and like we said, he's lost series against players like Drunken Boy. I think this Chief General or War General, something like that, in a previous WCS qualifier, trying to qualify for Season 2, QXE. And these are all guys that haven't had any real success this year. QXC's been having a lot of struggles in Challenger himself for the World Championship Series. So I do like StarDust quite a bit in this best of 5 for a PvP against Neeb. I haven't seen a single game that Neeb has played of Protoss. I don't think I've run into him on ladder, so I'm curious, but at the same time, a little bit doubtful. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, well, you have the opportunity for build order wins. You have the opportunity for just one misstep in PvP. So my hopes are up for Neeb.
We'll have to see what he can do. He is in the northeast position. He is our blue Protoss player now. He is Neeb.
And in the bottom right, it is the red Protoss. In this mirror matchup, we have StarDust.
One fair point to make, Lycan, though, is that there is a Protoss player who this year has won 3 very, very big prestigious tournaments, who used to play Terran, that is now Protoss.
And who might that be, Nathanius?
Well, it's Classic, It's Classic, of course. Classic, who, he's got that SSL championship, the GSL, just took IEM. He's, a lot of people are looking at a guy like him to be a top player, and he was Terran when he switched over to StarCraft II. When he first played StarCraft II, coming in to play Pro League, he was an okay Terran, but he wasn't a great Terran. And now he's a truly great Protoss player, and it just goes to show that it's never too late to make a big change, especially with how young Neeb is, right? And okay,
is he going for a cannon rush?
Yeah, I don't think forge expands are a thing in PvP.
I mean, so this could be pretty exciting if he gets into the base and doesn't get scouted and gets a nice setup. I mean,
I don't know what to say.
All right, well, let's see.
I had like all these thoughts in my head. I'm like, I haven't seen Neeb play PvP, but apparently he's a cheesy man.
These Protoss. Oh my God, he's not even going to see the probe go in.
Well, this is awkward.
Oh
my.
Man. All right, so he's going to get the pylon down. It's not going to get scouted. It's going to be a while.
Oh, he has no
Two
idea.
probes coming in. No scout on those probes.
He's, you know, it's like Galsy, man. It's thing 1 and thing 2 right there. These probes going to work together to build some great architecture in Stardust space. He has no idea.
I don't even think he's just going to get 2 cannons down. 2 cannons are going to come down.
I'm so glad to be here casting this game. This is the dream.
We could not have asked for a better series.
He's going Maximus Black tier. He's got a gate. He's building his gateway in there too.
Oh, man, and he's going to get back there. He's going to see the cannon. He's going to go, oh, my God,
he's
what has happened to me?
He's going to walk up and see a forge and just be like, oh,
do you know who I am? I am StarDust. This is my job. I play like that.
Here are the probes. He's going to walk up. There's the gateway.
Oh, and here comes the cannon. It's like, bring your probes. Go ahead.
Oh, my goodness.
Goodbye.
You know what? I have no words for this, Lycan. This actually just happened.
This may be one of the greatest things to happen in caster history for me.
It's like your first time casting. You're just like, oh my God, this is great. He's gonna kill him here.
Yep, he can't get the mothership core. What's that gonna do?
He doesn't have enough time to get Photon Overcharge, and the cannons are actually gonna kill. The cannons would kill him before he got enough energy for it anyway.
Yep, 3 cannons. That Zealot is done. That mothership core is done.
Because now this second cannon that's just finished right now, this right here is the key, because this is what allows him to build more cannons in range of the Nexus. And now, even if he gets Stalkers out, it's still going to be really, really difficult to make this work. It's not undoable for Stardust, but I'll be honest, as someone who plays Protoss very poorly, I don't know how he's supposed to win this.
Yep, he has Zealots. He does have that Stalker coming out, but look at the tech.
No, that's it. It's the Maximus Black Gateway. Because he can build Zealots in his base, he can't do the thing that Protoss normally does where they just stutter step around the cannons and bait shields. He actually has to deal with the Zealots, too.
First Roddy, now Maximus Black, driving the meta.
Yeah, Protoss players is just making everything crazy these days.
This is awesome. So, I mean, the Nexus is going to be lost. The probes aren't going to be able to get out of the base. There isn't a probe any longer on the other side of the map.
What happened to Stardust probe that was on the map? Did he,
maybe got killed by workers? That's it. GG. Neeb takes a victory.
That just happened.
That was incredible.
Well, Stardust is going to be scouting his base very carefully next game.
That was awesome. That's exactly what we needed to see. That was a player that came into the game and was like, all right, I know what I'm facing. I need to do something incredible, and he did it. And everything worked out. He goes down to scout for the probe or for a pylon in his natural base. It's not there. He's like, okay, I think I'm safe.
That's one way to start a series against a championship tier Protoss player like Stardust. Neeb is just like, he has some cannons and a gateway to boot.
Neeb is definitely on a high right now. In the next game, I want to see him come in. I don't want that to get to his head.
It's a big confidence boost coming into it. Especially when you look at Neeb must be thinking to something. He's like, yeah, I can beat this guy. This guy's human. He's probably. I imagine he's like done that on a barcode account, and a bunch of Protoss players have said really mean things to him. But Neeb's like, I know how to do it. And the thing is, there's so many ways for that to fail when you really think about it. Like, I'm sure Neeb really studied how Stardust opens and scouts in PvP. He's like, okay, he'll scout as natural, so I'm not going to cannon rush and build something on the low ground because he'll see that really quickly. So I delay. It's like a Galsy style, because the key to Galsy's old school cannon rushes, where he beat every single pro, by the way, on NA has lost to Galsy in the old days, and that was just because he delayed it just a little bit and then just made it all happen very quickly. It's like you didn't realize it was happening in time because it was later than you would normally check for it. And this game, he did check his natural. He checked his main base. And then his probe went to scout across the map, and then Neeb's probe was just like, zip, zoop, came around the side and, built a bunch of cannons in his ramp.
Yep, and here we are spawning on another 2-player map.
Yeah, I'd be blown away to see anything equally crazy. This guy, though, he's up 1-0. Pulled a fast one. Cheeky Lycan. He is Neeb.
And losing his mind in the bottom right, wondering what the heck just happened in the last game. He's down 1-0. It is Stardust.
Yeah, certainly pulled a fast one on him, to say the least. Pretty crazy in all honesty. So I believe the map order for this series is we started off on Coda. We are on Terraform once again here. We play map 3 will be Cactus Valley. The next map afterwards would be Bridgehead. And if we get to the 5th map, it will be Iron Fortress, just for those of you who are curious. But PvP-wise, obviously neither player has sent out a quick worker in the first minute of the game, so no cheddar. But there's still the opportunity for maybe some proxy Stargate play later on, some hidden tech. I don't know. I'm not sure what to expect after we started the series with the Cannon Rush, to be honest.
Nope, not at all. And this is, again, this is the map, though. We're not seeing anything crazy going down. So this will be, is it going to come down to build order? Is it going to come down to micro? Is it going to come down to just, the late game? Do you think we'll make it to the late game?
I don't know, man. The late game is a pretty interesting place to be, liking.
Yeah, late game is a great place to be, especially in all matchups. No matter who you are, you want to be in the late game.
Yeah. I think it only gets. I think it's like usually only Terrans whine about the late game when they're playing against Protosses, but that's about it.
Which is weird because sometimes Terrans can master the late game.
Yeah, that is also pretty weird to me when you really think about it. So on this map, third bases are generally not something that we really talk a whole lot about when it comes to Protoss. Like for one base styles, there's a little space you could blink into the main from. It mostly comes down to the tech, right? And the tech, we have to wait for the cybernetics course. Like neither of us are Protoss players. There's only so much we can spin. We need those cyber cores to finish to know what's up. But at the very least, StarDust has to play very carefully in order to, keep this series going. Because you play someone who's willing to cannon rush you in game 1 of a best of 5 like that, you have to be on your toes. So I imagine that if one of these guys goes for a safe play, like just a quick blink into Robo, it would be StarDust. And maybe Neeb would go, really fast DTs or fast, 3-stalker rush, try to Roddy build it up a little bit.
Yeah, so he's going for a Mothership Core, and he is getting his Warp Gate research. So really, it's mirror for both characters right now. The Mothership Core is getting Chrono, though, so it's coming out a little faster, along with the Stalker.
Yeah, it's not really like a huge deal, but it's a pretty safe way to open for both of them, because if any of them had to deal with like any sort of weird proxies that they weren't aware of or a fast Oracle, opening with a couple Stalkers is generally speaking enough.
Now we do see a Twilight Council coming down. I'm assuming this is going to be for Blink play.
Yeah, and most Protoss players like it for Blink play, because what Blink will do is it allows you to deal with any of those early Stargate plays. If your opponent tries a Gateway all-in, then you can, Blink micro.
Actually, with this probe being where it is, maybe we're going to see Dark Templar?
I would like to see DTs. Generally speaking, when I talk to people like Rotterdam, usually what they'll say is, like, if you open with that fast Blink, usually if you don't rush out that Robo super fast, like DT can be really tough to deal with. But Neeb actually just gets his Blink. He's no Dark Shrine or anything like that. He's going to go straight 3 Gateway Blink, about as safe as you could possibly play. I mean, it's also great for, all-in type styles, because StarDust is getting the Robo facility, so he'll have less production available as far as Gateway units go.
Yeah, there are a lot of crazy places on this where you could, if your probe or your worker doesn't go around, you can miss this kind of tech, these kind of things. But he's not taking that risk. He is going for a fast Robo, though. Doesn't know that his opponent is playing Blink yet, so he's playing a little safe.
Yeah, and he's going to get another Gateway. He starts his own Blink, but all of it is just a little bit later. And if Neeb decides to just make a crazy big push, that could be enough in this scenario. He didn't actually build a pylon out on the map. He just tried to scout with his probe a bit late. And I think if he was going to go for an aggressive play, he would have built that pylon. So he's probably looking to expand with this Blink after here. And I think StarDust, he's kind of giving me a similar vibe, to be honest. Like, both players have really the same setup. They just kind of took different directions in how quickly they would get to either part.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I really like the early game of PvP because there's a lot of time spent on one base. There's a lot of opportunity for aggression. There's a lot of opportunity to drive where you want your opponent to go. I mean, the cool thing about Blink is you can do a soft contain, you can get a lot of map presence, you can get out there and be aggressive, or at the same time, you can take a safe expansion behind it.
Yeah, and the thing is, actually, this could cause him to be a little bit worried. We see him warping another Stalker, still no Nexus on the way for StarDust. He saw those units moving out, and it seems he's actually quite nervous, but Neeb is like, hey, I baited you, and he's just going to start his own Nexus. So Neeb actually gets his X-Bow up a little bit faster. Of course, if StarDust wants to get aggressive, he has that opportunity, but now I actually kind of like Neeb's position. He's played a little bit of mind gaming here. Even though StarDust has a few more probes, Neeb's Nexus is on the way a little bit faster, and StarDust still hasn't started his. So it's a marginal advantage, but he sees these Stalkers, and it's still like, maybe I should just keep warping in units. I don't know. Yeah, he warps in 3 more Stalkers. So StarDust still is on one base because he thinks he's about to get like all into something.
Nope. Now there is no there's no sentry that could block them. You know, if they blink into the base and they get blocked out with the sentry, they can't escape. I think that this could still be okay for Neeb. He's pulling back, in fact, so he forced a lot of stalkers out.
Yeah, and Neeb, I mean, as long as Neeb, because his Nexus will be done in time for any push that StarDust could bring. And the reason why that matters is he can float an overcharge. So Neeb basically gets his expo a lot faster than StarDust. I can't say for free, but pretty much. Like, StarDust can't break Neeb right now.
Nope, not at all. He has that base. He has a photon overcharge, and he has a great army. He does have his own immortal out now, so I believe they're even on the immortal count. Finally, StarDust is dropping, and he's also taking a forge.
Yeah, I mean, Forge is, you know, you're going to get upgrades, but that Observer sees this Nexus is done, he's like,
He gave his life for it, too.
He's like, you're supposed to be an NA player. Why don't you have 5 gateways out on the map on one base?
Yeah, so these stalkers, they're out, they're moving, trying to get a little map presence, but they're really not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, he killed the Observer, right? Is there another Observer for him to get vision to blink into the main?
He just built another Observer.
Yeah, but he can't blink into the main then, right? So
Nope.
He's just kind of stuck. He's like, well, I could poke, but if you overextend in this position and you take a lot of damage on your stalkers, then your opponent can just counter blink back on top of you.
Yeah, he has an Oracle.
Yeah, it's really good. It was actually a hallucinated Oracle. He's like,
I was like, where did that come from? But yeah, no, he did have a couple force fields. He maybe could have been able to trap a few of those stalkers after they blink.
Yeah. Maybe he already would start to think that that couldn't be a real one. But like, if these stalkers move too far forward, like, there's not really much that they can do if they get forced to blink away and they're still in range of the immortal, because then, like I said, a counter blink would be really, really nice.
So here's something really nice. Neeb has had the ability to have this economy. He's been able to rush out a few more immortals, right? He's about to have 3 immortals. The player that has to go for Colossi first is going to be a little down. That immortal count is going to give him a great advantage in an engagement against Colossi once he transitions to his own.
Yeah, especially without Colossus range being done. StarDust has one on the way, but Neeb is just comfortably saying, okay, well, I have a good immortal anchor. Even if we were to fight and I'm down a Colossus, if I have 2 extra immortals, those are going to kill that extra Colossus you have so quickly it won't even matter. So it really comes down now to how aggressive these guys want to play, which one of them wants to step out. And I mean, I guess if we really cut it to brass tacks, in these particular scenarios, Protoss players rarely like to force big engagements. They've both kind of resigned themselves now to just powering up for a long time. So what I'm expecting for the rest of this game is them just sit back and chill. You know, maybe throw a couple stalkers here and there, try to pick off anything that's out on the map. But primarily, they're going to be building up. They're going full speed ahead towards that maxed out army.
Yeah, this last immortal is going to finish. Extended thermal lances goes down, and now it's going to be Colossi production.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's going to really give a lot of power to both this army for both sides. I guess all I'm really looking to see now is, like, who realizes that they can build that third base first.
Well, actually, we see 3 more gateways coming down for Neeb, so I think that he's going to go for that third, but then he might try to go for some pressure after that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, the thing is, though, having the gateways is never bad because he can always choose whether he needs to warp in. I think it's more having the warp ins available. Like, I guess he could have gotten the third a little bit more quickly, but he still has it faster than StarDust, which is all that matters in this particular scenario, because I don't think that StarDust is in a spot where he can just go kill him yet. Like, he could try, but at that point, he is all in, and it's very, very risky. Like, I think he clears his third right now, and then he just starts this. Like, this pylon gets put here to prevent it from being placed. It's actually really smart by Neeb. So, yeah, he cancels it. For 25 minerals, he delays that Nexus actually quite a bit, as StarDust has still not yet started it up.
Yep, Neeb's +1 is definitely catching up. Very, very, very incrementally small behind against StarDust.
Yeah, and it's not like Neeb is behind, like when you look at the supply. It's not like he's behind. It's more like Neeb's investment into that Nexus will allow him to jump ahead in that supply more quickly. So it's like he's temporarily in a place where he hasn't invested as much into the army, but it's still it's still small enough of a difference that it's not like a game changer, for example.
Yeah, now look at this. We see 2 different tech paths coming down. We see charge lots coming down from Neeb, and we see Templar on the way. So we're going to see Archon, Immortal Colossus.
I mean, the idea is that now you only want to spend gas on Immortals, Colossi, and Archons. You do not want to actually build more Stalkers. You do not want to build any Sentries in this position. Your focus are those gas units, getting some of those upgrades out, but you also really need the charge in order to throw away those extra minerals that you're going to be banking up because of that. And when I say that, the Zealots in general are actually pretty bad. Like, they're considered useless supply when you're fighting late game because, I mean, they're light biological units, so they get absolutely wrecked by the splash damage of Colossi, by the splash damage of Archons, and they're really just cannon fodder. So It's nice to have charge, though, because if your opponent doesn't have that AoE ready or they get caught out of position, the Zealots will still wreck face.
Yeah, so unless there's an overwhelming advantage in the Colossi count for Neeb, the Charge Archon Immortal is definitely the better composition to have. You get an edge with position. You've got this mass of ball, right?
Yeah.
You need the positioning if you are going for a Colossus-based composition.
Yeah, for sure. And that also comes into play with things like Time Warp as well. If your Mothership Core catches your Colossi out, they're so big and clunky, they have a hard time moving around. And now we see that supply has come much tighter together for both sides. StarDust is going to squeeze out a Warp Prism. And, you know, there's a lot you can do with it. We've seen players do things like load up a High Templar into the Warp Prism and just use it to snipe a Mothership Core. Obviously, Zealot Harass, when you're able to pull the main army away, is nice. There's a lot of options, to be honest, for both sides. And there, StarDust, we see him starting to get his first few Archons together. They're both just powering up, as we discussed.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a really true test of what Neeb is capable of as StarDust goes for the Harass. He's going to get the Warp Prison. I see a few Zealots are going to get warped in, and I hope he handles it well.
Yeah, this is like a really nice opportunity for Neeb, where if he can deal with this, and he's able to take a big advantage off of, you know, a lot of wasted resources by StarDust, or, you know, something as simple as this. He actually finds the Warp Prism. He's got Stalkers on the map. Like, this is actually huge.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't lose a single Stalker. Oh, there we have the Stalkers, though. They are going to get an Immortal, and some of these Zealots are going to get Stalkers.
I think that was actually, like, you consider all the aggressive potential that Warp Prism offers, just clearing that out. I mean, the Immortal losing that is, I would still say, a bit inexcusable, but I'm honestly not sure why he was out there, but, you know, it's something.
Yeah, and now both players are going for, actually, they're getting their own Warp Prism, so they're both going for that Harass. StarDust getting his own back out, and +3 attack about to finish.
Yeah, everything is very close, very similar for these players. I will say that Neeb does have charge on his Zealots, whereas it's only just begun now for StarDust. So if Neeb gets into a position where he's reinforcing and trying to either chase or counterattack with Zealots, they're going to be a little bit more effective, you know?
Yep.
StarDust Zealots can't chase very well.
Okay, something I really like. He's taking a few units. He's going away, but he's also building a Dark Shrine, right? StarDust like, all right, you didn't want a Zealot drop? Fine. We're going to play with Dark Templar.
Yeah, I mean, DTs are always good in these scenarios because your army, once you're out on the map, like, some people like you make a mistake of forgetting to have an Observer with your army, or, you know, the Observer just dies to something weird like Archon Splash. That's all very big. And now Neeb is posturing himself. I actually really like this position. Spread yourself out and just throw some Zealots at that third.
Exactly. Like, Zealots for the meat, and then you got the Colossi spread, so you can't have them focus down.
It's actually a very amazing position to be able to take for Neeb. Like, StarDust has to push into a superior concave if he wants to actually defend his third. And once he loses his third, like, both sides are maxed out. It's nice, but reinforcing is going to get so much more difficult. And there's the Photon Overcharge, so, like, that's something, but I don't know.
Neeb's going to pull back. He is taking damage on his 4th base at the bottom left.
Yeah, there's some Zealots there. He's going to have to warp in at home to try to defend, but loses the pylon, so no warp in for you.
Nope, that base is sacrifice.
Oh, does Neeb actually realize there's a Nexus in the top right?
I think he's going to find it.
Yeah, I think he needs to kill this and get the hell out of Dodge. Like, kill this, recall back. I don't think he can save his bottom left base. No, he can't, but, you know, at the very least, he could try to at least get a little bit of a counter, pull something back.
He's going to lose actually a few probes that were rallied to that base, to those Zealots. He is going to come here. He's going to hopefully do some damage. He lost 5 probes. Neeb did 7 on the back end. He did take out that base, though.
This is still a very tricky spot. Like, let's look at the total number. We have 5 Colossi versus 7, so StarDust is good in that way. Actually, I think StarDust just has more. Actually, StarDust just has a better army, I'll say. There's too many Zealots in this army for Neeb right now. Having 26 versus 15, he's got a solid, like 20 supply invested in Zealots, and Zealots aren't going to kill any of those big, beefy tech units that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, no, and that Warp Prism does get taken out by the cannon. A little bit unfortunate, but these Zealots are making good use of their position.
Yeah, I still think that right now what Neeb should try to do, since he has this big gas bank, is just throw the Zealots away as quickly as he can and just reassign that supply into some more utility-based units. He did actually shave off a good number of his own Zealots. He's down to just 17 now. Then we have the Dark Templar coming in. He's building 2 Colossi at a time, so he'll actually catch up very quickly in that regard. And StarDust also recognizes, he's like, yeah, okay, let's get rid of these Zealots, get a more powerful army.
Yeah, now, what I'm not sure about is both players taking these bases that have the exposed mineral lines, right? I think it offers the person that takes the advantage first the best opportunity.
I think it's just a more central position. Actually, Neeb killed a few of his own units there so that he could free up supply for more High Templar. I have to imagine that it's all got to do with a central location between all the bases so that you can actually defend more easily. I can't think of any other reason. And he's got this Zealot DT force on the right side. And so this is really crazy because the Red Army is all out. Like, there's only one cannon here to defend. Okay, second and third one are going to finish up, but if he was able to pick those off, those DTs would be so useful.
Yeah. And I think he blocked it with the warp in, so I don't think he got it.
Those Colossi, they're a little bit exposed. Time warps the Colossus. We have Neeb getting ready to move in now. His Archon's taking the first couple hits off this army, but those two Colossi immediately get picked off with StarDust.
Yep, and now Neeb is in favor with Colossus.
Neeb's warping in on top of the army.
Oh, look at
Zealot's
that. This
warping
is a
in
great
from behind.
position.
He's actually completely sandwiched StarDust's whole army.
Oh, this is great. This is amazing position for Neeb. Neeb is taking a commanding lead in this game.
Oh, man. He got baited so hard. He's like, yeah, come kill my fourth base. I actually can't. I'm speechless. I can't believe that just happened.
Okay, so GG is called, and
wow.
Neeb takes a 2-0 lead in the series.
That engagement, though, he had just warped in. He didn't have a pylon or a warp prism with his army, and Neeb was just like, he moved in. He got the time warp on the Colossus, like I talked about earlier, but all the Colossi were like right here on the base, and then his Archons and Immortals were all here, so he had nothing underneath the Colossi to actually buffer for them. Then the Warp Prism comes in, drops on top of him, and then warps Zealots in behind him. Every bit of supply that he lost was instantly replaced in a manner that prevented the Colossi from being able to retreat.
Neeb showing us some incredible decision-making, taking a 2-0 lead against last year's Premier League player.
That just looked bad, to be honest. Neeb absolutely wrecked StarDust in that engagement. Didn't even look close. He finished that fight 150 supply to like 60.
Now, do you think StarDust is getting a little rustled now? I mean, 2-0 lead.
I would say StarDust should be feeling a bit rustled right now. That was pretty sick by Neeb. I'm just reaffirming the third map, Cactus Valley. Very interested to see, like, if Neeb were to 3-0 StarDust. Like, so if we come into this, we're like, all right, you know, we're not sure who's going to win between Masa and Bales, right? Masa ended up winning 3-0. Okay. Look at game, you know, the second series, like Jaedong versus Semper. Everybody's saying, like, all right, Korean versus NA player, Jaedong should 3-0. StarDust versus Neeb, like NA player versus Korean, StarDust should 3-0. But now we're at the possibility of having this end match go the complete opposite way.
I think Neeb saw me say earlier that I think Masa and Bales that's going to be the match of the day, right? And he's like, no, watch this. Let's go.
That's pretty sick, actually, that we're just one map away, potentially, from having Neeb make it in. And now, you know, it's like you continue that legacy, because we already talked about it. It's like, okay, yeah, he's the first player to qualify for Challenger with 2 different races. Now he could be the first player to qualify for Premier with 2 different races.
And beat a Korean from last year's Premier League.
Yeah, and then, you know, just basically disproving me on the whole, you need to be Terran to beat StarDust as an American.
Yeah, maybe he just switched to Protoss, was like, okay, I should have done this years ago. This is awesome. And he's like, finally. All right,
like, you know, I remember beating these Koreans so much harder when I played Terran. It's like, man, Protoss, man, this is the dream.
Yeah, and this isn't even Neeb's best matchup, PvP.
I'm blown away. Like, this is really, really nice, because it all came down to, like, it was just small decisions here and there. The way he baited StarDust into not expanding, he got his natural expansion up like 80 seconds faster. It takes 100 seconds to build that Nexus. So, like, he's basically 4 or 5 probes worth of production ahead, you know, dozens of mining cycles ahead, gets the third base equally faster. It was just, everything just looked so clean from Neeb. I'm kind of worried. I'm saying it. I'm worried for StarDust in Game 3.
Yeah, I am too, because Neeb just played a very smart, a very calculated game, and he's just very smooth and crisp with his decision making. I'm extremely impressed.
Yeah, this has been pretty sick day so far. Thank you all for tuning in so far. We've seen you guys. I was looking at a couple of the chat comments. You guys really seem to enjoy that cannon rush. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the rest of today's games as well. And of course, we've seen some of your tweets, hashtag WCS. You guys have been very kind to liking here's first day casting some WCS things. Been doing a good job, so we're glad to have you here, and of course, glad to have all of you tuning in online and from wherever you may be. We are loading into the next map. This could be the last map of the night.
Yeah,
feels pretty weird to say that, actually.
It really is.
Considering that the non-Korean player is down 0-2 right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been a great series so far for this guy. In the bottom left of Cactus Valley, he is the blue Protoss, Neeb.
And in the top right, he is fighting for his tournament life. He's trying to get back into Premier League where he was last season. He is down 2-0, might lose 3-0, needs to win 3 games in a row. It is StarDust.
And Cactus Valley, cross spawns. Let's talk about the biggest difference right now between the last 2 maps. It's 4-player map. Neither of these guys know where the other is at the very start. They can't be sure, and that makes this a very interesting scenario, because we could have some of that hidden tech out on the map. You might not get to see in time if your opponent has gone for any type of sort of hidden tech, and that is what makes this really, really crazy.
I think out of both players, Oracles would be a really good decision to go for.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why people do Oracle builds on maps like this, is because you have, not only is it hard to find proxies, obviously, because the map is large, but it's hard to know that your opponent's proxying when you aren't able to get to his base and see, hey, where is your stuff?
No, so I think a lot of this is going to come down to first what they decide to do when they can't see anything, right? And then once they get that scout, who makes the right decisions? I mean, that's every game, right? But in PvP especially, that is crucial that you make the right decisions in the early game.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, both of these guys could very easily do what they did last game, and it would be an okay move to go, you know, Blink, Robo, very standard schmandered into, you know, PvP Deathball. But Neeb already showed in the very first game of this series that he is not to be trifled with, and he will do crazy stuff from time to time.
Yeah.
I think a cannon rush is enough. You cannon rush a Korean and beat him once. You know, everyone's going to call you crazy for the rest of your career.
You know, StarDust is the king of not playing standard schmandered, right? And we're really not seeing anything crazy from him.
Yeah, that's true. I think the problem is StarDust probably is like, you know, I actually don't really play NA. I have no idea who this Neeb guy is. This is a really uncomfortable spot. Like, I don't know, because he could do something crazy, and Neeb is going to hide some tech out on the map.
He got a great scout. He rallied right across the base. He said, all right, let's see if we're cross-spawn. If not, maybe I have a plan for otherwise. But he sees he's cross-spawn. He's like, all right, cool. The probe is stopped. He's going to proxy some tech. I am very anxious to see what he decides to pull out. Stargate it is.
Well, you said it like earlier, and Oracle is great. It's not even just that it's hard to scout, but it's a big map. In Oracles, they're very, very fast, you know, and that's a very nice thing to have, because there's so many different angles that you can penetrate that main base from with air units on this map. It's so many wide angles. It's very easy to get in and get out without losing any expensive tech.
Yeah, and StarDust sees, he sees Chrono is being spent, but it's not on the gateway. It's not on the cybernetics core, and there is nothing being produced. There's only one Stalker, a second one on the way, but that Oracle is going to be there well before enough Stalkers get out, or a Photon overcharge.
It's very important that StarDust Chronos out a third Stalker from this position. If he doesn't go for a very fast third Stalker, that Oracle can still pick off quite a few probes, especially if the Stalkers aren't sitting in that mineral line. 3 Stalkers is, you know, from most products that I've talked to, generally accepted as, like, enough. If you have 3 Stalkers, you should be able to defend against an Oracle that comes quickly to your base. It'll buy you time a little bit as well to get an overcharge if you want to push out. Not the end of the world. But Neeb adds on 2 more gateways behind this Stargate. He could be looking to just go for some crazy, crazy aggression after this, and StarDust, oh, he's going to miss it. Oh. Wow, he took control of it right as
he missed it.
It was like he took control of the probe right as it got close to that Stargate, and then he was like, nope, not going to check that spot.
Yeah, so we see Twilight Councils coming down for both players, a couple more gateways coming down for Neeb, and we do have a Robo coming down for StarDust.
You know, having that Stalker on the map makes this interesting. Okay, he's got 3 in here. Okay, so this shouldn't do anything. Like, yeah, 1 probe. He's not going to get any more than that. Now StarDust knows, so he's going to be very aware of what's going on. Maybe he'll come back around and try to find that, that Stargate later on.
So with neither player having an expansion, right, and Neeb already investing into this tech, what's something that you do? Yeah, he's expanding on the back end, but is there any opportunity for aggression, or he has to sit back and play defensive?
I think StarDust can get aggressive, right? His opening kind of soft counter this Oracle. I mean, the Oracle could run back in now that the Stalkers have left, but there's a Photon overcharge, so he could trade the Oracle for maybe 5-6 probes. Still very risky. Like, I think Neeb's biggest goal, like, he's not that far behind in Blink, but he needs to get units out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does have the Photon overcharge. That Nexus has still got a long ways to go before it's finished. In fact, these Stalkers are going to sit here and poke at it for quite a bit. Might even get canceled. And then the main base is going to be relatively safe. He has Stalkers. He has Photon overcharge.
Yeah, I mean, now we have... there's still a good couple of Stalkers for Neeb. So it's not like StarDust can cancel his base. And he did force the Photon overcharge with the Oracle. Like, he is going to prevent Stardust from having energy on his mothership core just by having the Oracle out on the map. The biggest mistake that Neeb can make is losing that Oracle, because even though it hasn't gotten much damage, there is always that threat that if Stardust leaves himself exposed for even the slightest moment, Neeb will come in and, an Oracle can insta-give a whole mineral line.
Yep, that'll be the biggest advantage he can take right now in his current position. He does have his own robotics facility coming down, and he's trying to get some damage done. He does get a revelation, so that's nice on the Stalkers. Spend a little energy, know where the main bulk of the army is. Ooh. And oh, there goes that Oracle.
Very, very nice pickoff for Stardust. And, Neeb, you never want to have to rebuild an Oracle like that, because Stardust already has what he needs to deal with it. Like, he's just kind of stuck.
Yeah. The question is, where does he go from this? He is getting his expansion down, though. I believe his expansion started a little sooner than Stardust, so that is good. That's something that he can come away with. But we do see now that +1 is already almost halfway done for Stardust. Neeb is just now finishing his forge.
Yeah, and I mean, going for upgrades in this scenario, I think we're basically on a track, to go pretty much the same direction as the last game. The difference is that Stardust is not in this weird, awkward spot where he's behind. Stardust is the one that's feeling very comfortable, and as we race to 200 now, as many PvPs are wont to do, I think Stardust is going to be feeling a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, he does have an Immortal coming out. Stardust is then going into Colossi tech right after. He does have the Robotics Bay coming out.
Yeah, this is a good spot to be in for Stardust. He's getting all of his tech out just far enough ahead. I mean, little things here and there. He just got supply blocked. Actually, he's gonna, it's gonna hurt here and there, but it's not the end of the world. This observer actually sees everything, so he's gonna be like, "Oh, your Robo Bay just started? Well, mine's about to finish, so I'm gonna be ahead in Colossi." His observer does get snapped up, but it's not the end of the world. I guess at this point, we really just have to wait and see, because these guys are just going to both power up. Which one of them decides that they want to go for the third base first is also very important. I think if Neeb started his soon, he'd be able to pretty comfortably hold on to it.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it is in Stardust's favor to take the advantage. He is in this position where he has come out ahead. Neeb tried a little bit of cheekiness with the Stargate, and now Stardust can decide, I have a window of opportunity. He's ahead in everything. He's ahead in upgrades. He's ahead in tech. It's his game to win with the advantages he has right now.
Yeah, and now this Stalker actually is continuing to dance around. Neeb almost managing to catch it. Does not want to get baited too hard, though. If he were to have aggressively blinked, he might have lost his Stalkers that are out on the map right now.
Yeah, Immortal's good unit against Stalker.
Yes, very, very strong. Especially even like if you get force fielded in, the Zealots can kill them, and that's just unnecessary. Unnecessary, Lycan. We do have the Nexus on the way for both sides, though. Neeb got his a little bit faster. I think Neeb needs every edge he can get his paws on right now, because like Stardust has a force out here, but this is not like the "I'm gonna kill you" army. This is the "please stop pushing me" army.
Yeah. It's keeping Neeb in check. He's being policed off the map, and that's really good for Stardust to keep that position.
Yeah.
We do see the range upgrades are about the same. Neeb is going for Zealot legs.
Yeah, I'm really trying to see where either one of these guys gets a big edge, because if it comes back down to positioning once more, I felt that in the last game, Stardust started off with a much stronger force. This is a pretty risky move. He's going to come up here and just try to knock this base down. I mean, getting this would actually be pretty big. The Zealot's trying to buffer, but he does. The thing is, if he were to lose this army, it would be over for him. Like neither one of these players can afford to lose these armies. The army compositions are close to dead even when it comes to when you look at those armies. Handful of Immortals, one Colossus, some Zealots, and Sentries. But it's okay. It's okay. You poked the third, but if you try to kill it, you might lose everything.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of gateways now coming down for Stardust. Is this just going to be for, taking advantage of that 3-base economy he now has, or is that going to be for aggression? Oh, he blinks in and loses a lot of Stalkers to the Colossi and the enemy Stalkers of Stardust, and that was not a good engagement at all.
Yeah, I think he saw maybe just one unit and got baited pretty hard there. Unnecessary mistake, to say the least. Both sides getting Templar Archives. We're going back to the same place that we were just at, Lycan.
Yep.
And, in that position, Neeb won pretty handily with his engagement micro.
Yeah, so hopefully, Stardust is definitely trying to not get caught out of position. Stardust is a great player. He takes, he's extremely accomplished. I'd say that Stardust is one player that if he's going to learn from his mistakes of the previous game.
Yeah, well, Stardust should win this, right? When you really think about it. And here he is down 0-2. He's got WCS Europe titles. He's got tournament wins at big series like DreamHack, and he finds himself now basically Oh my goodness, am I going to lose this American dude in Challenger of all places? Like, I'm supposed to go way further than this.
Yeah, he is going for Warp Prism. Actually, both players going for Warp Prism again.
I think that's just a smart way to play. You know, being able to get that aggressive potential in is so nice. But look at this. Stalker Harass split up between the natural and that third. Mothership Core gets picked off. So this actually makes things really awkward because the Zealot Warpin should be enough to hold off against these Stalkers. He's actually killing Stalkers with Zealots. Kills all of them with Zealots. Really nice defense so far. Pull the probes away. And now, excuse me, I was going to say Lycan. Now Neeb actually has an opportunity to try to push across the map if he so chooses.
Yeah, no, definitely not a WCS level player, but this guy is. Neeb is now taking down these Stalkers with the charge lots, and that is great. Pushing away that harass and keeps his third base mining.
I think he still has that Warp Prism too. Like this, this Warp Prism here can go into the main base while he tries to push this third, and he's really going to be pulling him apart because StarDust's Warp Prism has only just left his base. He's not in a position where he can go for anything big, and I believe that I believe Neeb, excuse me, still has his Mothership Core with his army as well. So if he needs to hit that eject button and recall home, he can.
Yeah, the great thing is that Neeb had vision of the enemy Warp Prism, so that's not going to get too much, but now his is in the enemy base. It is Zealots warping in.
Come in, you got the Warp Prism here, you can keep building Zealots, tap that third base, and then recall out. Just kill it and get out. And he's killed it, there's the recall, boom. Shakalaka gets out, he's still at his third base mining, he still has Zealots in here being annoying, almost gets the robotics facility, but it doesn't actually matter because not only has he supply blocked him by killing the Nexus, but he still has the Warp Prism, so he can always come back and strike again. And that robot facility isn't doing anything for StarDust right now at all.
Nope, and you know, Neeb keeping the Warp Prism there just as a threat, right? There's nothing there. Like, there no Stalkers were warped in, so nothing can shoot up, and StarDust has to keep that Colossi and Zealots back home.
Yeah, the biggest issue right now, Neeb just has a couple Zealots inside of his main base that are going to kill some probes. They've killed a cannon or two, and now he's realized, like, ah, yes, I do need to actually keep this base alive. It's very important to have my main, for obvious reasons. The proxy Stargate from the beginning of the game is finally destroyed, but not really much of a factor in this match anymore. StarDust is getting a Dark Shrine, but Neebs are building his cannons, so he can't be too worried right now.
Yep, Warpins, cannons, I think he's pretty well defended against any kind of Dark Templar play. Neeb getting ready. He's keeping his third very well defended, and I really like that.
Yeah, StarDust's third is only just about to finish, so he's not even really mining off of it much yet.
No, he's kind of stepping away just for a little bit. There is the Warp Prism of StarDust just waiting patiently.
And Neeb gets his own Dark Shrine too, so both of these guys are going to have those invisible units to throw at each other.
And went behind Dark Shrine, but went ahead Dark Shrine anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. DTs are never a bad move, especially in PvP. You know, there's no scans or super fast overseers in this matchup.
Yep, and so there are two that are going to get dropped there. The Warp Prism is going to go up because the majority of the army is there, but there are a lot of Warpins ready and willing to come in and take care of this Warp Prism. It's probably going to go down to cannons, but it's going to get a big Warpin before it does. Lots of Zealots.
Good job. Picking off that Warp Prism was really nice, though, because if all those Zealots finish, then Neeb finds himself in a really awkward place. But losing the Warp Prism also means that Neeb can freely step out onto the map if he catches whiff of where this army is and try to go for that positional battle that we saw last time that he was able to win so nicely.
Yeah, we do see it. Neeb is moving as a one big mass in the middle of the map. The army of StarDust a little bit spread out, but it is also away. There's a really good opportunity to snipe the third base once again.
Forward pylon, yeah, you know, he warps in a couple Archons, a ton more Zealots. And this army on the right side, like, he sees this Zealot. Oh my god, he could actually just tap this Nexus again.
Out, boy. Has the energy to recall?
Yeah, I believe he does. There's one Templar here that would probably like to feedback that Mothership Core, but I don't think it's going to happen. He does step away. Does feedback something. I'm not quite sure actually what he grabbed. There's a time warp to lock those Archons away, and now they're just jockeying for positioning. One of these Colossi is shooting an assimilator, though. That's hurting Neeb's position just a little bit. He's got another Colossus coming in on the high ground. Needs to keep himself spread out. Those Archons are really going to work now.
Yep, those Colossi were able to get a lot of shots off before anything got close.
But there's a Zealot reinforcement, so he has that pylon very close by to help with this, but, you know, the Nexus Cannon also chips in during all of this, and it's, you know, it's 5 Colossi versus 4, but with 2 Immortals to anchor, Neeb does not want to take this fight. He actually lost a lot of supply there, despite the fact that he was up on economy for a good bit. He does have his 4th base earlier, but now I think the biggest things to look at are we going to see, you know, those Dark Templar come into play in the next minute or so here, because they have access to those Dark Shrines, but I think right now they're both trying to repair those armies, and that has me worried for Neeb. He lost a lot.
Yeah, now he does have 2 Colossi in production, so he is finishing up. He's actually 2 Colossi finishing a 3rd and 4th on the way. I want to see how he builds up the meat of his army, right? He doesn't have the Zealots, he doesn't have the Archons really yet. He's trying to get that count back up, and I think the player that has, you know, that Colossi advantage and is able to have enough meat to take the next engagement is definitely going to possibly take the game.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the way that the armies are set up, right? StarDust is ahead on supply, but he's mostly up in Zealots. And that insane number of Zealots is nice, but those Zealots are all going to die in like one shot from those 8 Colossi when you really think about it. So it comes down a lot to that. And now even this Dark Templar working away on this Nexus is going to force an Observer all the way over there, possibly some cannons, and all of the defensive DT too, because he's just been mining these extra gases, and that gives him better units. You know, those Archons are so much more valuable to have in your army than any number of Zealots.
Yeah, and I believe that this Nexus is going to get canceled.
Really
it does get canceled. Very good play for Neeb.
I think 1 DT is worth it when you consider the gas income lead that Neeb has over StarDust. Like, I'd actually like to look at if we could pull an income tab just to see that gas income for Neeb. It's so much more coming in. You know, you think about it, for every minute of mining, he's got like an extra 2 Archons that pop up in that army, or, you know, a whole extra Colossus. And that's the, you know, even though the supply favors StarDust, Neeb is building a much better army. You know, if he's able to max out in this direction, he's going to be in a phenomenal spot. Because how many Zealots does StarDust have right now? Is he still like 10 plus? He's at 22 Zealots. You know, Neeb only has 2. If he wanted to, he could easily, you know, even that supply out on just Zealots. But he knows that his army, given a max out, is going to win a straight-up head-to-head engagement.
Yeah, and I love that pylon position. It's like right on top of that base, and it's going to continue to deny it. That's going to get canceled once again, if not taken down before StarDust can do anything, along with 2 pylons.
Yeah, and the defensive DT at his 4th base is just brilliant. Like, it's not going to insta-kill these Zealots, but it gives him something that will guarantee that they'll die, and really helps when that cannon is soaking up damage as well.
Right, because that's more units that you can have on the front line facing your enemy's army.
Exactly. And that 4th base gets started again. Yeah, he lost some probes, but, you know, gas mining doesn't really require that many more probes in any other form. So, and to be fair, Neeb was actually ahead on workers. So what it's really done is opened up more supply for him to max out on too.
Yeah, no, I think Neeb is getting ready to definitely take an advantage in this game. Another shield upgrade just completed, level 2 shields.
Yeah, let's actually take a look at the army compositions once again. Let's just see where everything lies. We have 9 Colossi for both sides. Neeb has 3 more Archons, 1 less Immortal, and he's still, so everything is pretty even except for 3 Archons worth. And I still think that that's a big deal, because that 10 Zealot advantage is going to be negated, you know, like I said, in the first volley. Neeb does not seem to have an Observer with his army, though, and is actually taking a lot of shield damage on those Colossi. That's a big deal. That's actually a nice opportunity for StarDust to try to move in and do something here. Where, oh, there are no Observers on the map for Neeb. He's like building 2 right now and getting Observer speed. He's like, oh, no, not a fun way to lose.
Nope, not at all. It does push him back at the very least, even if he doesn't bleed out too much damage.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you don't want to take a fight with Colossi that just have less health, right? Those shields are important. And that 1 Zealot actually baits a few Colossi over. Like, in this scenario, something like a Time Warp on those Colossi would be, you know, potentially game-winning.
Yeah, with the position that Neeb is in, I mean, StarDust could get in, but no, that's not going to happen. An engagement is going to happen.
Neeb's the one that gets Time Warped in this position, though, and this is a really rough spot to be in. That Warp Prism is right there for StarDust. He can instantly reinforce with the Zealots, and right now, all the meat that's underneath the army for Neeb has been cleaned up. StarDust is just going to continue to push forward into this. Neeb dropping in supply so quickly, losing absolutely everything, and even those few Zealots that are there are just going to bait all the shots away, so he's not fighting against opposing Colossus. I mean, I think StarDust is in a game-winning position right now.
Absolutely. GG is called, and StarDust takes his first victory in this best-of-5 series.
And not going down without a fight, being able to pick up that first map victory here, and World Championship Series Challenger. Definitely a back-and-forth game. I have to say, you know, it comes down a lot to things like, it's mostly how you start the fight. Like, those Colossi for Neeb were all bunched up, so not all of them were firing in a big arc. Like, StarDust's were very well spread. They both threw Time Warps at each other, but the Time Warps hit, like, Zealots and Archons, which are always going to be your buffer units that die. But the Time Warps that hit Neeb's army were all in his Colossi, so they couldn't unclump themselves because they move so slow. And that's a key to victory for Protoss when you're playing around with so many big clunky units like that.
Yeah, I think this is a great series for everyone, both the players and the fans. I mean, we didn't get a 3-0, which is great. We saw StarDust come back and actually play, you know, a great game of StarCraft, and Neeb still played really well. He had advantages. He took great engagements. He did a lot of smart plays. And
let's just go back to the very beginning of that game. It's not like Neeb was in some sort of dominating spot, right? Like, he opened up with the Oracle. Oracle did nothing. Then he lost the Oracle, and it was kind of like, okay, I'm behind a couple probes now for quite some time. But then he knocked the 3rd base down. He managed to snap up a couple of units outside. He defended his own 3rd base. He defended the Warp Prism. He managed to catch that before it was even able to ever get to his base. So I felt like a lot of things went really well for Neeb, but just needed a bit more time. Like, he was still behind a little bit in supply. I would still wager his army's better, But if he's just maxed out, then I think it's a totally different fight, and he has to be able to fight on his own terms, spread out in a concave, not caught off at like the end of some terrain while being time warped.
Yeah, we saw these players, I think, both reading off each other the last 2 games, learning from each other. We saw them now this game, they took Warp Prisms at the exact same time. When the game before, it was StarDust taking the Warp Prism first, and then Dark Templar, exact same time, right? So I think that each player is learning from one another as the game goes along, and we're starting to see different parts of their styles fleshed out. Both went for the drop harass, and Neeb playing that smart game he needs to play, knowing that I need to take the economic advantage because I didn't get the advantage in the early game, so he sniped that base. He did a lot of harass. I think both players are playing excellent StarCraft right now.
Yeah, and there's multiple ways to play PvP, guys. Like, the way that they're both doing it is very similar to each other. They both open up with, like, either the Blink and the Robo, and then later on they add in, like, the Archons and whatnot, and they get charged. But there are a lot of Protoss players that like to go for very aggressive styles. You know, when I think about some of the, I know was like one of the Chinese players immediately comes to mind when like does I think I've seen like even some like the Axiom Protosses do it too. Is like you go for a big charge out Archon push without Robo into someone that's like rushing up to a Colossus, and you just try to like overwhelm them with how fast you can build that army composition, even though it doesn't scale as well, to just crush someone that only has like 1 or 2 Colossi. Because the Colossi aren't really that scary in PvP until you have like a couple of them, right? You know, you can kind of dance around them a little bit. The Zealots they kind of spread themselves out when they charge. But in this particular scenario, it just seemed like, you know, both players are just kind of following each other step for step.
Yeah, yeah. Haas, one of those players that likes to do that, you know, really aggressive. And I wonder if we're going to see that in this game. You know, either game we haven't seen that player pushing up with early Blink Stalkers into the base, things like that.
The only aggression that we've had in this game was the cannon rush in game 1, which was, to be fair, pretty aggressive, just not something that's reliable enough to be, but oh yeah, we see cannon rushes all the time.
Now
WCS.
Now we're moving into Bridgehead, and I'm curious if we're going to see any sort of like maybe immortal bust on the back rocks, some sort of that, maybe a Void Ray all in.
Yeah, I am interested in that because it's not a map that we've seen too much of. That's like the nature of these best of 5s. So actually, if you think about it, what exactly were the maps of this series again?
We've so far had Coda, Terraform, Cactus Valley. We're going into Bridgehead, and after that is, if we make it to the next game, Iron Fortress.
Okay. So so that means we got vetoes on Moonlight Madness and Dashin Terminal. I have actually no idea what happens in PvP on those maps, cheese or otherwise. So I can't say I'm super surprised, but I do believe that Bridgehead. Can you really do anything crazy PvP wise there? I guess.
I mean, I don't know how well does the Roddy build work on Bridgehead, because that big wall, it's a great way to siege with the Tempest.
Yeah. I think even just big gateway or immortal play could still work because force fielding that giant area is very tough. I'm actually not really sure. I'm like trying to think about it, but I haven't watched many games on Bridgehead. Not many people allow Bridgehead to come into series, by the way. Yeah,
so I mean, there isn't from getting into the main base, it's not a big ramp. You can't really blink a huge number of units up in it, especially if they're prepared and they're ready at that front, right? You do have the back rocks, maybe some Zealots working on them in the early game, maybe again proxy, maybe Immortal, bust down the rocks, get in there. They weren't expecting Immortal, Blink Stalker, something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot that can happen. We're just now getting the lobby set up, so we'll be a little bit more time before we get into this game. Hope you're all having a good time. You've been enjoying this non-3-0 series, the first one so far of the day, for sure, as we're currently 2-1 right now, favoring Neeb over StarDust. We appreciate, of course, all you guys that have been hitting us up with the hashtag WCS on that Twitterverse, and all your wonderful, very intelligently, well-thought-out comments in the Twitch chat as well. Always appreciated here at the World Championship Series.
You know what I think there isn't enough of, though? I don't think there's enough Kappa in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, could always use a bit more of that. You pronounce that in a very interesting way. But we always love hearing your feedback as we move through. This is day 1 of the Challenger Series for the World Championship in America, at least. I think like the Chinese and the Southeast Asia, New Zealand, Australia, all those guys are done with their Challenger matches. I believe Latin America is also done. And then Europe will be following shortly after us.
Starting next week.
Yeah. So there's lots more StarCraft to watch. And then as we get into August, you guys will be able to catch Premier League, and then then we get into September and we finish things up. And
it's going to be the finals. Season 3.
Sick. It's going to be awesome. And, now it's, you think about Season 3, really, it's like, this is it. For some of these guys, a miracle run could make it happen. Someone like StarDust and Jadon, when you really think about it, like those guys, they didn't do anything season 1. Neither of them were actually really playing much StarCraft either, and they kind of came in. They're like, well, we've had a long break from StarCraft during season 1. Now we're just starting to play again in season 2. Both of them had a really rough season 2 because of that. You know, you think about their results, their histories. Neither of them able to even get into the semifinals, and of season 2. Barely putting up results in any other tournaments as well. Like lackluster mostly across the board. Like both of them need a miracle run this season and to pick up some points outside if they want to have a shot at even thinking about the global finals. But we are finally loaded into the 4th game in this best of 5. We are on Bridgehead in the left position. We have the red Protoss player. He is StarDust.
And on the right, he is 1 game away of breaking into Premier League. Give it up for the blue Protoss, Neeb. I'm extremely excited, Nate. This map, we don't know what we're going to see, and I think that's the most exciting part of all. Something crazy could happen. It could go to standard. It could go to the late game.
Yeah, and it's just one of those maps where we are going to see this one vetoed a lot. If we really think about it, like there are some maps that only ever show up when we do WCS, that only show up in best of 5s or best of 7s, and it's not like. It's not a coincidence that's like, oh, wow, well, people just like randomly veto these maps. It's like, no, most players aren't as comfortable playing on Bridgehead as they are on, a map like Coda.
Yeah, we see a probe going out already for StarDust. Coda, it's been the staple today, right? And I imagine tomorrow we're going to see the same thing. But I do like that not everyone has stayed back and said, okay, I'm going to go on these maps that we're used to, right? We haven't seen every single map from last season played, and I like that. We're seeing the new maps come out.
Yeah, I'm mostly looking forward to seeing like Moonlight Madness and Dash and Terminal. Because the thing is, as crazy as those maps are, and as much as a lot of players don't like them because there's a lot of crazy stuff you can do on those maps, I still think that they're more interesting than our other maps that have been heavily vetoed. Like, I think we're going to see crazier stuff on Dash and Terminal and Moonlight Madness this season than we saw on like Inferno Pools or Secret Springs. Because maps like those got vetoed all the time, but when they got played, there was never anything cool on them. But on these maps, I think we're going to see some really interesting things, and we've already seen some pretty cool stuff. Like we just look at, results from tournaments like DreamHack. You have these big spine rushes that happen. I think like we had like a PvZ where like REM went 1 base Immortal and like beat Symbol. Like some pretty crazy stuff is going to happen on these maps. Even though they're going to get vetoed a lot, I still think they're going to provide better games and be more interesting than our previously high veto maps.
Right. We have triple probes on each gas for both players now, and I wonder what we're going to see. We are seeing the gateway research coming down for Neeb.
Yeah, big things to look forward to, of course, as these cybernetics cores finish up is where the investments go. Neeb is going once again to that quick stalker mothership core, same for StarDust. So maybe we just have blink openers again. Maybe just standard schmandard across the board.
Yeah. Stalker coming out. Mothership core is now out for Neeb.
Yeah, it looks like killed the probe scout.
Yeah.
There. So nothing crazy just yet, but Neeb does get to keep his scout alive. That is actually really, really nice, as it opens up the threat for him to go for some aggressive play later on. And ooh, a Stargate for StarDust.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And we have both mothership cores poking across. Going to see what they can get done. It's a very, put your mothership at core risk for hopefully some good knowledge, maybe a couple probe kills.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not, as Todd would say, the rotty mothership core, where it just flies in and dies. Most players like to go in, you kill a probe, and then you just recall out. You have to wait. You got to make sure you have enough energy to do that, though. This is actually really important for Neeb because this is the first time we're actually seeing StarDust build a Stargate in this series. So Neeb actually really, really needs to see this. If he can recognize what's coming, then he won't be caught off guard out on the map. If Neeb decides that he wants to push across the map with his first 2-3 stalkers, this Oracle could actually just kill him. So Mothership core comes in. He has not spotted the Stargate. He doesn't know.
Nope, he was right there. He was so close. The Stalker's doing a great job of just keeping the scouting away.
Poke again, Neeb. No, poke again. He can't photon overcharge his main base. Neeb, what does Neeb actually have at his home right now? He's building a Stalker. He has 2 in his mineral line. Okay, third one's going to pop. He has to keep them there. If he moves those Stalkers away in any capacity before that Oracle arrives, he's going to lose all his probes and probably lose this game.
Yeah, he's staying in the mineral line. I think he kind of has a decent idea of what might be coming out of what he's scouted already. So he's staying back. He's going to hopefully be prepared.
By not seeing anything, it does mean that it's possible there was a proxy. And now the Mothership current comes in. Now he knows. He's like, oh, okay, well, I've already got 3 Stalkers here. I'm not worried. And that's a really comfortable place to be, because this does give Neeb the opportunity, if he wants, to try to find a way to just lock himself in on this base, go for a big aggressive push. He can do that.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you know, the tables have turned, right? The last game we saw the Stargate come down for Neeb, and he goes with the Oracle, doesn't get anything done. Now StarDust in the same position. There he goes using that. But hopefully he does keep his Oracle alive a lot longer.
Yeah. I mean, Blink is about to finish up, so he can't really shark around this base too much. You know, he has to be careful, and Neeb's going to throw on his Nexus. It is significantly later than StarDust's, though. And the problem with this for Neeb is, even though he'd probably very much so like to push across the map, he has a better gateway army, the threat of that Oracle is always looming. Okay, well, he kind of catches it there, but it's not like he's going to be able to kill it.
No, but he does have 3 Stalkers still in the base that could get it, but they are hallucinated, or they are revealed, so that they're not going to be able to do anything but take a little more damage off of that Oracle.
Yeah, the power of Revelation in this position is really, really nice for PvP, just being able to scout and see what's going on. This Mothership core, still just chilling.
Yeah, not at home to do anything, though.
You know what? I guess he could actually blink across those rocks, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could. Now, there is an Immortal. Those Blink Stalkers don't want anything to do with that Immortal.
Yeah, actually, I mean, blinking 4 Stalkers across the rocks and then using the Mothership core to provide vision to get back to the other side would be nice, but StarDust has an Observer there. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, he's considering it. Might do a little bit of fun play. He's sending his own Mothership core back. And he does have the Observer now. And so he's going to, you know, sit at these rocks, maybe poke at them. Maybe he will blink over them and then use them as protection if he tries to defensively blink back.
Yeah, this is actually really awkward because now he's blinked in. The Observer saw him blink in. He has to wait for the cooldown. He's actually going to lose some of these Stalkers, unfortunately. 2 of them do die immediately, and that's painful, man. Just throwing away a bunch of resources basically for nothing, and suddenly StarDust is in a really nice spot. He got his Nexus faster. He picks off some units for free. Even though the Oracle doesn't do anything, you know, in the early game, does he still have that Oracle alive? Did he lose it at some point?
No, he still has the Oracle.
Okay. So that's still a big threat. Like, there's 2 Stalkers here, but he can catch any probes out on the map. He can use this and just constantly... Like, he doesn't actually need to kill anything with it anymore. He can just run around the map forever with it, like patrolling or whatnot, and just look for when a probe tries to build a pylon. You know, it's like StarDust can't be caught off guard. You know, Neeb can't move out onto the map if he's constantly running around with his Oracle and prevents any probes from putting pylons.
Right. Now, we do see that StarDust is getting his Forge right now. Neeb going to have a small lead in the upgrades, but also StarDust is getting his Colossi a lot faster. His Robotics Bay is about to finish, and Neeb's isn't even halfway done.
Yeah. This is it's not like the worst case scenario as far as the tech goes. I would like to see Neeb try to get his 3rd base earlier because of this, but StarDust has like that push out that looks very much so like the one he did on the last map where he tried to deny the 3rd base of Neeb. And if Neeb tries to take that 3rd too greedily, then it gets really rough, because if he pulls out all of his units, which he would need to do to defend a 3rd base, then the Oracle just comes back in and wrecks him.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really no disparity between workers. Army, though, is definitely in favor of StarDust. Here's a Stalker trying to get a little bit of information, blinks away before it can get sniped, and StarDust possibly looking to get a little aggressive with these Immortals and Colossi.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind in this position is that there's no Twilight Council yet for StarDust. It's almost done, but almost being done means that he's not even remotely close to having Blink. So, big focus should be 3rd base. I think Neeb could have gotten his 3rd base a little bit earlier, but StarDust is going to be the one that ends up having it first. Not by much. Okay, Neeb just starts his, so now I'm feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, he does get it down, and I mean, we're again seeing that little bit of role reversal. StarDust getting the faster 3rd than Neeb, but again, you know, this is PvP, and there's always the potential for Neeb to take a really good engagement. Looking at the upgrades, we see Charge coming down, Extended Thermal Lance also for StarDust. Both players getting Charge and Extended Thermal Lance.
Yeah, and you know, these are all the upgrades that you really need to round out a good composition for the late game in PvP. Because I really feel, you know, we've looked at this series, and aside from the Cannon Rush, this whole entire series has pretty much just been the late game.
Yep, absolutely. And we're seeing the Warp Prism coming again for StarDust, so he's going to look to do a little bit of harassment. There's not a lot of map vision. There is a pylon near the 3rd base, so that's going to be great for harassment from Neeb to StarDust. Seeing that pylon there, that could also spot the Warp Prism, depending on which way it goes.
Yeah, and this is like a really important moment, because if, you know, when that harassment play really comes into it, this is how you get the advantage. Like, you still have this Oracle, and the thing is, the Oracle now has enough energy that it could actually sit and kill like 100 probes.
Absolutely, but there is the mothership core waiting to do the photon overcharge, and we look now, we do see a warp prism heading out with some zealots inside.
Imagine this. You drop 4 zealots, your opponent warps in zealots to defend, you have the oracle there, it kills all the zealots before they even warp in. That's how strong that thing is. It's like there's so many like little things that can have such a big impact here.
The oracle is inside that mineral line.
Yeah, just going after a few of these probes. I mean, it can even get to work on this Colossus. Like, oracles are strong. Oh my god.
There's so much energy on that oracle. It could have still gone.
Yeah, you know what, like, and I've actually never seen an oracle kill a Colossus, but I actually almost lost it for a second there, imagining that it could have just happened.
The dream was real.
I was terrified. I was genuinely frightened.
Oracles aren't something fun to deal with, especially when they have a lot of energy and you have nothing to deal with them.
Yeah, it's not like any other harassment unit where it's like it'll stop at some point. It's like, no, it's just going to kill a bunch of workers. There's a feedback, though, to shut it down after it grabs another couple probes. So at least the Oracle threat is over. But look at the supply. You know, Neeb is not only behind on some supply, but StarDust has a massive gas bank, which means he can turn, as soon as that Templar Archives is done, he can immediately turn that supply lead he has into a massive amount of Archons. I will say, this high ground spot, I'd love to see these Colossi just kill all these probes.
Yep, and that's what they're going for. Colossi getting 2 probes, not too terrible, but look at all those charge slots for StarDust. I mean, we talk about charge slots getting eaten up pretty quick, but he has a lot.
Yeah, right now there's that it hasn't reached the phase yet where this army has enough area of effect damage to actually be able to kill like a massive number of zealots. Like, Neeb is not yet ready to face this army of StarDust. I don't feel he is.
No, and StarDust is getting ready to drop a few more zealots inside the base. There it is. There's an Archon trying to do a little damage. Might get the warp prism before those zealots knock it down, but no, those zealots are going to be there, and there is no warp in to defend it.
Losing that Archon, so expensive to just 300 minerals of zealots. Now, that third base mining gets denied again. This Colossus positioning for Neeb is really nice, because if he tries to push up that ramp, StarDust, I mean, then he gets hit with the time warp. But StarDust is like, okay, screw this, I'm going to recall, picks off all these zealots, blinks to the left side, but the warp prism is still there. That threat is still alive.
Yeah, I think he needs to put a few more cannons down, at least for the defense of that base. He had them in the previous game. They worked well, paid dividends. I think it's a smart investment at this point.
It's just on Bridgehead, man. There's that space runs all the way up and down, your main and natural. Like, going for drop play here is just so easy. You know, I think about from a Terran perspective, you just bounce across all day. Or, you know, from the Zerg perspective, the mutas just fly back and forth easily. And if you're Protoss, then those warp prisms have to be your key to success as well.
Yeah, map vision, absolutely critical, especially when dealing with those multi-prong harass. You got to know where it is. You have to know the right way to split your army up. And we're seeing a lot of these engagements the past few games coming down to who knows where their opponent is and how they split their army.
Yeah, there's only so much you can really do in scenarios like this, but that warp prism has to be a big play. Picking that off, really, really nice, though. Neeb is going to be able to catch himself breath of fresh air there as he cleans up these zealots. I think he can try to pull some of these stalkers out of his base, try to help a little bit more. It does lose 2 probes, but that army of StarDust still a bit ahead, quite a nice chunk ahead in supply. I'm actually curious, just take a look at the army compositions just so I can be sure. We do have, yeah, I mean, he's ahead in Colossi too by a large margin. I think that's a really, really important thing to keep in mind. Like, this is not just one of those, oh, he has more zealots than me armies. It's he's got twice as many Colossi as me.
Yeah, no, he does have 2 more Archons than his opponent, but I mean, is that really going to make a difference when you have all that other meat and potatoes in there?
I'm not so sure it will. This is a very tense moment right now because Neeb just wants to be allowed to sit back and try to max. But I have to say, you know, you're in a position like this, you know, you're in the late game, remaxing isn't going to help you.
Nope, not at all. We do see he morphed in 2 more Archons. I think he's definitely an advantage. Yeah, he's going to have the photon overcharge. Is that going to be enough to help him in this situation?
I mean, it helps to soak up health, right? If he can get that, you know, if he can get one of the Colossi to derp, like we saw in like Cactus Valley or whatever, if like the Colossus shoots like the Nexus instead of the army, then it helps. But there's the photon overcharge, activated a bit late. He's actually dropping zealots from the warp prism on top of those Colossi, and most of the Colossi of StarDust are shooting the Nexus, so it's opening up some opportunities here. Neeb is actually able to get some nice shots off. He's focused, he's actually distracted by the Nexus cannon. The warp prism of StarDust gets cleaned up. He's warping it on top of StarDust's army. It could actually be enough for him to stay alive just a little bit longer. Pretty sick play, especially considering his 4th Nexus is on the way.
Yeah, those warpins were absolutely incredible. It definitely helped a lot. The photon overcharge.
Yeah, you asked. Well, there's your answer. Like, and that Nexus actually just saved Neeb from losing this game. I don't know that he's out of the woods just yet, but He's got a new lease on life, at least for a short time.
Yep, both players do have Dark Templar tech. The 4th base is going to be denied for Neeb.
Yeah, this is still a pretty interesting spot, right? Because StarDust does have a 4th base in the bottom left. It's not yet being really utilized. He doesn't have the gases on it just yet. But Neeb will fall behind if he's not able to find some sort of way to equalize, whether it's getting another good engagement like that or getting some harassing. We haven't seen a whole lot of harass out of Neeb this game.
Yeah, I'm really liking the warp prisms in these games, right? Aside from the harass, dropping zealots, warping in zealots on top of the enemy army, that is a 3rd engagement in the last 3 games that we've seen that play a big role. And
it's a game-winning move when you get those big warp prisms. 2 Templar just snapped up for free like that. That's huge, you know? This warp prism does get cleaned up. And we have another warp prism harass being sent into the main base.
Yep, did warping cannons, so that does help, but that's a lot of zealots. Cannons don't care about that. 9
zealots. Like, DTs are being warped in to defend, but, you know, 1 DT isn't going to kill this fast enough. There's some of his own zealots, but that cannon's going to get cleaned up, and this is just going from bad to worse for Neeb as far as economy goes. Stardust is starting to mine off of that 4th base. He's taking an assimilator there as well. Neeb really needs to make something happen. DTs are being sent across the map. He's got DTs being warped into his base, and, oh, goodness, all these probes, these poor defenseless probes. Oh, God. Oh, he's just going to go for the Nexus.
Yep, that's going to be not something fun to deal with. Really concerned for Neeb right here.
Yeah, he has not been able to put on damage to the economy of Stardust, and he is just losing force after force. His natural expansion is gone. He's lost a lot of gas income. We have a bunch of DTs standing next to each other. They can't actually hit each other.
Nope, not at all. I think that Stardust play GG is called. Stardust takes a win and ties the series 2-0.
Really surprising there, as Neeb still had the majority of his army together. He was just like, I'm too far behind now.
No, and we see Stardust closing up a lot of the gaps. In the previous games where Neeb has taken those advantages, Stardust was there. He had enough cannons to deal with DTs. He was the one controlling the tempo of the game, making his units spread out and harassing, and definitely stayed ahead.
Yeah, really crazy. Really crazy series so far. You know, the engagements, Neeb looked like he was going to bring that game back. But every time, like, Neeb goes for that harass, we had his Warp Prism go across, immediately snapped up by the Stalkers. Like, just dealt with beautifully. And then the Warp Prism consistently just kept hitting Neeb's natural, and that's one of the things about Bridgehead that makes Bridgehead a tough map to play. Like, drop play is very good on it. You must always be mindful. Even at the end, you know, not having an observer there when you're, you know, your opponent, you're in the late game, your opponent has DTs. It's like there's 6 Dark Templars staying next to each other. Half of them can't see each other, you know? It's
no bueno.
It's just awkward.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just awkward, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they both know that they're invisible and that there's other invisible guys nearby, but they can't do anything about it.
No, they see the glimmer, but, like, you know, the rules of, you know, physics in StarCraft, like, I see you there, but I can't slice my axe.
Yeah, you know, it's the rules of engagement. You know, you don't attack stuff that you can't see.
Nope.
In case you're crazy.
You don't want anyone to see you swinging at the air and you miss. And you know.
That's exactly. It's just poor form, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the final map that we're getting into is going to be
Iron Fortress.
Iron Fortress. So another 4-player map. We're back into the realm of maybe proxies, maybe weird scouting, stuff like that. Stardust has brought the series to a standstill against the American Protoss player. The players are in the lobby right now, so we'll be starting this one up soon.
It's another big map. There's a lot of play that can go down, especially when you're playing Protoss. We could see another Stargate opening.
I'm mostly, you know, it's just like mostly concerned because, like, now Stardust is building up this momentum. He's got picked up the last 2 games. They're both long ones. Neeb had moments of brilliance, especially in the last one. That fight by his base. Like, maybe if Stardust just overcommits just for another second, or doesn't retarget the Colossi onto the actual army units of Neeb for like 1 more second, and that Nexus just takes a couple hundred more hit points of damage, maybe that's enough for Neeb to actually kill 1 or 2 of those Colossi and just counterattack and win, because he had a much bigger army. But the harass just completely cut him in half afterwards.
Yeah, if we look at the series and how it started, right? Yeah, sure, we have the cannon rush in game 1, right? But then we go to game 2. Neeb starts out with a pretty decent advantage, and he just takes, you know, little chunks as we can. The next game, Stardust doesn't give him those opportunities. In the 3rd game, completely shut down those opportunities. So now we're moving into game 5, and Neeb has to, I think, start off on a very strong foot in order to take this game from Stardust.
Yeah, I'd like to see something a bit bold from either one of them. Honestly, I don't think it's necessary. I just kind of want to see it since we've had such a standard series so far. You know, beyond obviously game 1, you know, the cannon rush. But we've seen Neeb play straight up throughout the rest of the series. Both of these guys, we've thrown an Oracle build in, but otherwise it's just been very clean Robo Blink or Blink Robo. I wouldn't mind seeing something mixed up a little bit just because I don't feel like either of these players should really be even expecting anything anymore. Although, still feels weird to say that considering that Neeb can and rush StarDust in game 1.
Yeah, I would like to see I'd like to see aggressive one-base plays from both players. So not build order counters. I want to see both players try to get in someone else's base.
You want to see Wings of Liberty PvP?
I want to see that. I want to see someone siege the base with Blink. I want to see micro and control, and I want to see that kind of exciting game because we've seen the late game multiple times now. I want to see that early game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, man. I think at this point I'm pretty tired. I'm pretty tired of the late game. I'm tired of it. I want to see some. I want to see some cheese. I want to see some aggression again. Let's see if that's going to happen. We've got horizontal spawns on Iron Fortress. In the bottom left position, we have the red Protoss player. He is StarDust.
And on the other side of the map, he is the foreigner facing the Korean. He is trying to come back. He is here. He's allowed his opponent to come up 2 games, tying the series. Can he take this game and jump into Premier League? It is Neeb.
That's right. You know, another thing to keep in mind is that not only is this the first series today where it hasn't been a 3-0, but if Neeb were to win, considering the last 2 3-0s, Neeb would also be the first of the, quote-unquote challenger players to actually qualify. So we've had 2 of the previous Premier players already take those victories, and that's a nice, comfortable position to be in. You know, you're the guy, you were in Premier before. Sure, you got knocked down at some point or another, but you came back in style. You were able to win your challenger match, and that's kind of what you come in expecting. And if you're StarDust, it's a big confidence shaker to lose like this because you came all the way to America just to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And so looking at what the players are throwing down, it's equal. Actually, we see 2 gases from StarDust, only 1 gas from Neeb. There we go. There's the second gas.
Yeah, so slightly later second one, but it's not anything crazy to say the least. PvP, I feel like it's tough to really figure out what anyone's doing until that cybernetics core is done. Really, there's only so much you can do unless they go for a quick second gateway, for a 3-5 stalker rush. But
Neeb lucking out with the early scout, getting the right direction the first time.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty big deal. Being able to see this, he knows he doesn't have to deal with proxy gateway, in the middle of the map or something absolutely insane, and StarDust will find himself being probably sour about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to see Neeb on the other end, not really deviating. We're not seeing a lot of extra production yet. And just biding his time, trying to make a decision, probably.
Yep, I think that's a pretty important thing to do. And if you're going to be in the rubber match for a best of 5 with, $1,000+ on the line, because both of these guys, if you make it to challenger, for any of you guys wondering, you get $3,000. You get a ton of money. You qualify for Premier, you're guaranteed into challenger for the next season, at least based on this year's rule set. And then you also have, another $1,500, I believe. You get a couple more WCS points. WCS points not really a factor for either of these players, as neither of them have had any real success outside of WCS, or even in WCS, I could say. But, getting that money, having some more matches to play, keep yourself busy for the rest of the year, also very important.
So we are seeing, again, Stargate for StarDust, Twilight Council for Neeb, same as last year, as you were last game.
Yeah, same as last game. Nothing really mixing up too much. I mean, Neeb, is he going to get that quick scout off? That's the real question, and I don't think that we have those mothership cores being so aggressive out on the map looking for the scouts, and that can hurt, because you see this pro, but you're probably not going to be able to kill it, and if you try to run over to that main base, you're exposing yourself a bit more, since unlike Bridgehead, you can't just retreat to that high ground so easily.
Yeah, that stalker gets a first couple shots before the other one does so. In a trade, this one's not going to do as well. StarDust might chase up into there, but there are 2 stalkers now, and he's going to want to get away.
Yep, StarDust stalker taking quite a bit more paint damage. I mean, losing this would actually be really big. He cannot afford to lose this stalker this early on. It's going to make things very awkward for him. I mean, I do like the idea of using that stalker as bait, though. If he's able to pull him out a little bit more, then that Oracle could potentially get some game-winning damage done. As Neeb with 2 stalkers out there is fine. I don't know, did he build a 3rd one? Or is it just 2 inside of his base? It's very important that Neeb,
just 2 right now.
So With 2, yeah, I mean, it's...
Photon overcharge.
Yeah, he should need a Photon overcharge. Like, he could trade... If he wanted to trade the Oracle out against 2 Stalkers, he could get a couple probes, but would still be pretty bold of him. And yeah, he actually wastes a little bit of his energy attacking the Stalker, so only 2 probe kills for the first 2 Stalkers. And then the overcharge killing the Oracle.
Great patience from Neeb on that one. I think that may have been calculated. Get as much damage as he can. Don't use the overcharge if you don't have to. And then he's like,
and then he realized, he's like, you know what? The overcharge is worth an Oracle. And I would agree with that decision. I think that was actually really smart. And patience, that's actually a really good way of putting it. Because he didn't do it immediately. He was like, yeah, okay, I'll play around with this a little bit. And then Stardust is like, well, I think I can get into the probe. And he's like,
you gotta look at this, right? This is the position. This is his game to get into Premier League, right? And to have that patience right now, I think that says a lot about a player.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's sweating it too much. Obviously, this is a scenario where both of these guys should be a little nervous. If you're not nervous in a position like this with so much on the line, you know, you're a little bit crazy. But being able to keep yourself cool and collected during all of it is also a really big deal.
Yep, and StarDust getting his pylon scouted by Neeb, so that aggressive pylon is going to be taken down. I also like that Neeb is also going to have Blink and Immortals, right? We don't have a Twilight Council down for StarDust yet.
Yeah, this was a weakness of the last game. And I think this is one of those few scenarios where, I mean, Neeb is getting a Forge, but I really wouldn't even mind if Neeb was able to force some sort of fight where he can use that Blink and a similar composition of having an Immortal or 2 mixed in. I would still really like to see him turn this into a micro battle because I think Neeb's control is very good. You know, especially you used to play Terran, okay? There's one thing that you need to be able to play Terran, it's control Lycan. So I wouldn't have minded seeing him trying to turn this into a micro battle when your opponent doesn't have Blink. It should be pretty easy to win.
No, I agree. And now we have +1 starting for Neeb as well. And this is exciting. I mean, what is Stardust doing? He's moving across the map. He has an Immortal, I believe.
Yeah, Star's moving across the map. This can't be any actual commitment. In fact, I'd say what he's doing right now is actually pretty risky because if he gets too close to that base, like being chased, he will lose. He will lose everything because that Immortal is there and he won't be able to focus any of the Stalkers down because of Blink. So he needs to be careful. Perhaps he was hoping to run into something and Star's built another Oracle. So he's telling himself, okay, well, I think I can make something here. But this Phoenix actually could run right into that Stargate.
Yep, and it's going to see it. Oh, there we go. Hopefully it went far enough.
He sees that Stargate is building another Oracle, and he's like, well, I know what I'm going to do. Not leave my mineral line completely unexposed. Did Stardust cancel that Oracle? Did he let it finish?
I
think he canceled it at the last second. He canceled it at the last second. So Neeb does build a cannon in his mineral line. Not the end of the world. Obviously, he could have invested it somewhere else if he had known that the Oracle would be canceled, but I can't fault him for that.
No, not at all. And I mean, he's putting cannons in both mineral lines. This is something that has been important in the later stages of both games.
That's exactly it. It hasn't really hurt him to have defenses in his base either way. Like Warp Prisms will become a factor in this game. Like I'd be willing to put money on it. You know, if we go to the late game again, then there should certainly be more harass.
I'm feeling really good for Neeb. He's got a Colossus on the way. He's ahead actually with his +1. That's going to finish soon. He has the equal Immortal count to his opponent. Legs on the way. I mean, and just now the Twilight Council going down for Stardust. I like Neeb's position, Nate.
Yeah, he's going to have both Twilight upgrades very quickly. He has the as you mentioned, the Colossus coming in. I don't believe he started his range yet. He's spending a lot of gas right now. But starting that third base, too. And I think that's really, really big. Especially considering that while he may not have enough to go try to win this game, he certainly has enough that if Stardust tried to attack into Neeb's third base, it'd be a fool's game, Lycan.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Neeb doing really well this time. I think we're seeing him collect himself, being very composed. Just overall, I'm impressed. Even if he doesn't take this game, just the series overall for Neeb has been incredible.
Neeb has really, really displayed some solid PvP so far here in this match. Playing straight up head-to-head, toe-to-toe against Stardust is not something that everybody in the American scene is going to be able to do, Lycan.
No, not at all. In fact, after this series, either way, whichever way it goes, I'd definitely like to talk to Neeb and see how he felt about this, what his thought process was going through these different games.
Yeah, because he's taken a very cool, calm, collected approach. He hasn't focused on the harass quite as much as Stardust, but it's still been really, really good in terms of how he's dealt with it. But, You know, that's another thing to keep in mind, because the key to success for Stardust was harass, but it's much more difficult to throw those Warp Prisms at your opponent when you're behind.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that whole, you know, that patience and that handling of yourself against a Korean, that's usually what you see, right? You see the Korean facing the foreigner, and the foreigner seems to kind of just fall apart and make, you know, bad decisions. But we're seeing crisp play out of Neeb.
Neeb shows no fear in the face of Koreans like him.
Not at all, and he's getting a Dark Shrine now too, so hopefully, I mean, we haven't seen any game-changing moments with the Dark Shrine, but maybe this time...
He doesn't have a Templar Archives, does he?
No, he doesn't. Stardust does, however.
So he has a cheaper route as far as gas goes to get Archons out, too. So I'm mostly curious in terms of like if he's actually going to go for heavy DT play, or if he's going to really use like Archons in his army. Like this Hallucinate Phoenix won't see much, but if he pushes towards this third, like I don't know what he's hoping to get done here.
Yeah, if he takes the very, very patient route, I think he's placing backup pylons right now. He's probably going to place another pylon closer to the third of Stardust, and that'd be a great way to warp in some harass, some Zealots, and some Dark Templar.
Yeah, I mean, a couple Zealots and a DT, knock the cannon down, become annoying. Especially with how far out on the map Stardust's army is. Like, he really needs to be careful here. I don't like that Stardust is being so far out on the map if he's not going to actually push the issue.
Yep, there goes the Warp Prism for Stardust. It's going to the base. It has those 4 Zealots, as we have seen every game. There are 2 cannons, and there are plenty of Warp-ins ready.
Yeah, that's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that he has those cannons that he built earlier on in the game, and he sees the army out here, and he might be thinking to himself, he's like, yes, a great opportunity now to move in, and maybe he should pull back and just warp in another couple Zealots, but if he drops now with the Colossus here...
Turn around Colossus, kill it.
Fire your lasers! Yeah, there we go.
It only dropped once, so it's fine. He's saying, okay, I really can't do anything here. We're going to move on and try a better opportunity. And there he goes. He drops some Zealots, takes a little bit of shield. In fact, almost the entire shield is gone. But still no major damage.
Yeah, this is fine. This is absolutely fine right now for Neeb. He hasn't taken any critical blows. Both players are still just powering up, really. Neeb built the DTs, and I think he used the Select All Army hotkey because they totally went around the other way.
Yeah.
And didn't end up trying to kill anything.
Nope. So DT's standing guard in the middle of the map, not really doing anything.
I don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly. Like, look at what he set up. Like, that Warp Prism is with his army. So what I'm imagining what Neeb wants to do is get another one of those nice fights, maybe use the DTs to pull around, and then use the Warp Prism to drop on top of the enemy army, and then warp into Stardust's forces. Like, this could be a big opportunity. And all he really needs to do is just catch Stardust leaving his base and then move in with those DTs, snipe the cannon, and go to town.
Yeah, you know what? And the other thing is that if you try to focus the Warp Prism, because you know exactly what it's going to do, right? The time that he only has a few anti-air units, it's the Archons and those 2 Stalkers, right? So if he tries to focus on that, that is 1-2 seconds that nothing is focusing on the other army. So those Archons are taking free hits from the Colossi and the fellow Archons.
Yeah, Neeb needs to be very careful now. We do have some Zealots going in for counterattack, harass from a Warp Prism inside of his base, trying to use those DTs defensively. He's trying to catch his army in an awkward position. He's going to move in. There's the Colossi. There's a significant Colossus lead, though, for Stardust as both sides begin to throw in those Time Warps and those Guardian Shields, trying to hold on in this position. But the Colossi are all still standing, and there's that Warp Prism. The Warp Prism's right on top of the Colossi. The Zealots are actually focusing down. Stardust is pulling his probes to try to stop this attack.
Oh, this is incredible. The probes are going down. The Colossi are going down as well. They're hovering on the edge of the cliff, so the Zealots are not going to be able to do anything. But still, I mean, if you look at the 2 armies...
He lost all the probes. He's not mining off his third base anymore. Like, this is actually okay. This was enough. He just needs to hold this position.
Yep, don't lose the Warp Prism. Take it. There we go. He keeps it safe. The Colossi can't shoot up. I mean, really, he could just warp in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be it's totally fine. It doesn't even, I don't even think it matters. Like, he's done so much damage. He's upset just an incredible amount, and he has so many more Warp-ins that are going to be ready for the next fight. I mean, this is a phenomenal spot to be in. The Mothership Core is hitting the Colossus. Neeb is moving up. He's going to take out the rest of these Colossi. There's just probes coming over here, and Neeb could actually be moving to Premier League for WCS Season 3 right here, right now.
This is it. The Colossi are out of position. That one Colossi not going to do anything. 3 Colossi and Immortals, more Zealot Warpins coming in. This third base is going to be sacrificed. That's guaranteed, but I'd say that this game is completely over for Stardust.
GG Neeb advances over Stardust 3-2 and qualifies for Premier League for Season 3 of the World Championship Series. That is... that
was phenomenal. That entire game,
that was freaking awesome, man. That was great.
Neeb,
Neeb, America. There you go.
Yeah. So that
now is the appropriate time to spam America in the chat, guys.
Exactly.
Good.
I mean, Neeb, let's talk about the game, right? So it started off, it was smooth, it was clean. Stardust goes for that Oracle again. Neeb is undaunted. He was ready. He had the scout.
Yeah.
And then he just played that smooth game from there. StarDust got nothing done with that Oracle. What, 3 probe kills?
Yeah, it really didn't do much of anything. Like, he got the 2 probes immediately, and then he got just that last hit with the Photon Overcharge at the beginning. And, you know, you talked about it. Patience didn't immediately use the Photon Overcharge, just caught him with it. Really amazing, really amazing. And I'm just so happy Neeb being able to move to Premier like this. He's now qualified for Premier League. Last year's Terran, now he's qualified as Protoss. That's got to be a good feeling. I hope he's like just fist pumping and cheering in his chair back home, because that was a really awesome series to watch him go toe-to-toe with a Korean, only playing macro games outside of that very first game, you know, the Cannon Rush. You guys should check out the VOD if you missed that. But really awesome day of matches here at the World Championship Series America Challenger. We cleaned up 3 best of 5s. We have 4 more coming for you guys tomorrow. In case you missed it, we had Masa advance 3-0 over Bales, Jaedong advance 3-0 over Semper, but the challenger Neeb advancing 3-2 over StarDust. Tomorrow we'll have Kane versus Huck, Pult versus Jon Snow, Violet versus QXC, and Hitman versus Unicider. A whole lot of Terran and not a whole lot of mirrors like it.
Yeah, a whole lot of America, actually. 4 Americans playing tomorrow, 2 Koreans and I believe 2 Canadians. So
that's right. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be incredible. Lots of great games.
So did the last series of the day today end up outliving your expectation of the best series?
I think that, yeah, absolutely. That was incredible. I mean, Neeb, I think patience would be the theme of that game. We saw a lot of calm, cool collection from that player. We didn't see overreactions with warp-ins, right?
Yeah.
If he saw 1 Zealot, he only warped in 2 to outnumber it. I mean, just smooth play all around.
Decision-making was absolutely amazing by Neeb. Really big congratulations to him for making it into Premier League for the first time this year. And, of course, you know, congratulations to Jaedong as well as Masa for getting back into Premier League, as they were both in there in Season 2. But that is it from us here. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We will see you back here tomorrow at noon PST. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Time for Day 2. We'll finish up the Challenger matches for the World Championship Series America.